Hi everyone, this subject is all about advertising. Now to know more about advertising, let's take a look at on this video. Advertising is a paid form of communication intended to inform, persuade, and remind an audience to take some kind of action. Let's discuss the history. Advertising has been around for many centuries. It has changed to reflect the times. It has gone from message boards in town squares in colonial times to ads in newspapers and magazines in the 18th and 19th centuries, with radio and TV ads making an appearance in the 20th century. The internet is playing a big role in advertising in the 21st century. Trends that had a big impact on advertising included the introduction of mass production to produce mass quantities of branded products. Advertising agencies grew out of the need to sell the mass-produced products. Now there are four inventions that influence advertising. We have the printing press, the radio, television and cable television, and internet. Printing press was used to produce posters and handouts containing information about goods and services for sale during 16th century. And we know that we can still see some printing press like magazines, Manila Bulletin, Inquirer, as of this day. The first newspaper advertisement in the American colonies in 18th century is the Boston Newsletter. Ben Franklin began placing advertisement in the Pennsylvania Gazette in 1729. The first magazine advertisement for colonies appeared in Franklin's General Magazines in 1742. For the radio, use of radio started in 1920s. The first commercial broadcast in 1922 or soap operas, music and serial adventures that often were sponsored by advertisers. It grew in 1930 and 1940s. Paul Harvey, a pioneer in radio advertising, launched Paul Harvey's News and Comment in 1951. There are 24 million listeners airing on 1,600 radio stations. Now let's move on with television and cable television. And we know that everyone have this kind of gadgets in their houses. Television. Television was invented in 1920s. It became mass advertising medium in 1950s, while cable television was developed in 1970s that offers more channels with a specific program offerings. One example of this is the Signal. Both are perfect platforms for infomercial. So when we say infomercials, it is a lengthy paid advertisement that showcase the benefits of product that range from 5 to 30 minutes or longer. And yes, the internet. The web revolution started in 1990s. Internet advertising is now $42 billion in industry. Chat rooms, blogs, emails, pop-ups, advertisement, instant messaging, and web page notices are just a few of the ways advertisers can let people who are surfing the web know about products and services. The social networking sites such as Facebook and MySpace are becoming more popular advertising venues, and we already have now the Instagram and Twitters as well as a form of social medias. Now, there are influences on advertising. We have the environment, the social and political, and of course, the consumer. Let's discuss the environmental influences. Advertisements are used as public relation tools to present businesses as good stewards of the environment. By protecting the environment from harmful pollutants, conserving non-renewable sources like coal and oil, disposing of waste responsibly, selling environmentally friendly products, using environmentally safe and sustainable energy sources to meet business needs. Now we have what we call green marketing. This is the use of advertising to support and improve the environment. One example is the use of the eco bag. Social and political influences. Advertising is highly influenced by social and political issues because it can have both positive and negative results. Advertisers just carefully plan their strategies. Now we have social and ethical responsibility. The two goals of advertising is selling a product, and the second one is maintaining a highly public perception of the company or product. So when we speak of social responsibility, it is the principle that businesses should contribute to the welfare of the society. And today, doing what is politically correct or ethical has become the theme of many advertisements. For political advertising, while advertising is important to political campaigns, there is no clear agreement on the effects of political advertising on electoral outcomes. Exposure to advertisement thus influence public perceptions of the candidates. Now, what are the influence of industry trade groups? When we say industry trade groups, these refer to as trade associations and are founded and funded by business operating in a specific industry and are responsible for public relations activities such as advertising, education, political donations, lobbying, and publishing. The consumer influence. Consumer is the end of a product or service. Consumer behavior describes how and why people make purchase decisions. Advertising is highly influenced by consumer needs and purchase patterns. There are two principal ways to evaluate motivation behind consumer purchases. First is the direction, what they want. It refers to what consumer wants from a product. We need to consider that in order we can advertise it more meaningful to the consumers. Then intensity, how much they want it. This is used to determine whether a customer interest in the product is compelling enough to motivate them to make the purchase. Now let's move on with the advertising industry and careers. What could be your future in the advertising industry? Let's study first how the advertising industry works. Advertising is the most effective way to reach consumers and create product or service awareness. As you can see, from here and there, every businesses, establishment have their own advertisement. Companies rely on advertising to drive demand for their products or services. Developing the most effective advertisement is a time-consuming, expensive process. Successful advertising requires more than a string understanding of the product or service being promoted. It also requires knowledge about psychology, consumer behavior, cultural trends, technology, the competition, and many more marketing elements. Here are the types of advertising. We have the product advertising that uses rational arguments to communicate why consumers need a specific product by highlighting the benefits associated with the use of that product. It represents at least one product characteristics as a reason for purchasing a product. Say for example, why do we buy Maxi Peel? Because it will create a beautiful skin for women. Okay? Brand advertising is used to build an image based on the set of values held by the company. Example of brand advertising are the Nike. Those are the branded product that we advertise. Okay? Brand is a combination of unique qualities of company, product, or product line. The name, logo, slogan, and design are important elements of the brand. Next is the corporate advertising. It is intended to enhance the company's reputation or build goodwill, also known as institutional advertising. It promotes a positive attitude toward the company. Now let's move on with the advertising agency. It is a marketing business that plans, creates, and manages the advertising for others, businesses, or clients. Its primary role is to analyze the company's goal and help it achieve those goals through well-planned, result-oriented advertising strategies. And it also assigned with the task of building campaigns to increase sales of the company's product, to reaffirm the brand image, to attract new customers, and to retain current customers. Now, who are the participants in the advertising industry? We have what we call the advertiser. It's a client, persons, organizations, companies, and manufacturers of products or services that needs creative messages, advertisements, and advertising campaign to reach target markets. Advertising agency, services, and careers. We have the account management in the advertising agency begins with advertising executive who serves as the main link between the client and the advertising agency. It communicates client objective to other team members and ensure that the strategies are carried out or scheduled within the budget. The account planner. It directs the marketing research efforts involved in an advertising campaign. It helps the creative team understand what turns the consumer on. And in focus group, a moderator leads a discussion about an advertising campaign with a small group of people. For media planners, these are the ones who explore media options to determine the most effective way to deliver the client's message at the lower cost. They create media plan that outlines when and where advertisement will run and how often. The artistic look of the advertisement is the responsibility of the art director, while the words used in the advertisement are the responsibility of the copywriter, and both work in creative services or team. The creative director oversees and helps guide the creative process to ensure that team members deliver an advertisement that conveys the client's message. Producer led the production department who manages everything that happens after an advertisement is produced. The media services and careers. Although the larger advertising agencies have their own media departments, many of the smaller agencies outsource this task. Outsourcing occurs when individual tasks are assigned to companies that specialize planning, designing, and creating advertisements. The executive media directors oversee management of media, planning, including budgets, cost, resource allocation, and strategic leadership. The group media directors lead overall management of one large client or multiple clients, and they provide strategic direction and drive long-term business. The associate media directors are responsible for the overall service of assigned accounts and media teams. Executive media buying directors are responsible for management of the media buying and operations. And the media buying directors represents agency senior management on a day-to-day basis and are involved with negotiations. We have also the support organizations and careers. We have the boutique advertising agency or the virtual ad agency. This is a small specialized advertising company that outsources many of its services. Its primary objective is to create brand identification for a product or service through the use of non-traditional creativity. The brand specialists may act as consultants to advertising agencies. They are called upon to identify what makes company unique in a market flooded with consumer choices. And that ends the topic all about advertising.